everybody, and welcome to episode 99 of All About African Violets. All About African Violets is musically sponsored by Ted Yoder. You can hear and purchase his wonderful music on his website at tedyoder.com. It is also available from iTunes. Hi everybody, come on into the sunroom. Although you can see it's dark, it's Saturday night, and I am spending my Saturday night with you guys. I thank you for joining me. I am going to jump right into tips and treasures this time. Actually, no, I'm going to run my mouth for a minute first, and then I will. I've had a very busy day today. I've been working in my house pretty much all day long, and it's about, I think it's about 8:30 now. Let me look at the clock. It's exactly 8:30. Yay me! And I thought, oh my goodness, I have to get this done for you guys. So, but it's been a very busy day, so you'll have to excuse me. I look a little ragged, a little more than usual, I should say, and it's because I've been working all day long, doing stuff here. Not plant stuff, just house stuff. I really, not only have my plants been neglected, but my house has been neglected in the last few months as well. But that brings us to really our topic in Tips and Treasures, which is we're going to touch on consistent care again. I have some more comeback footage for you, and I think you're going to find it interesting. Now, I realized as I was watching it, and now I know that using my new countertop that's dark seems to do better with getting the light better for you to see the plants, and I will definitely keep that in mind going forward. But this was filmed downstairs on the potting bench, and it's very much about consistent care and what can happen to a plant when you don't practice it. So go take a look, and I'll see you on the other side. Guys, I'm back here with Optimara, Michigan, and I thought this was going to be a plant that really just needed to be potted back down, but it's not, and I want to show you why. I started to really take a good look at it. First of all, you can see it's got a lot of lower leaves that have that glassy, icky look. All right, so once I remove those, which I'm doing right now, and the other clue on this one was when I watered it, we got these glassy looking leaves, and they're dark and kind of almost transparent. But the plant itself seemed to be wilting. This can happen when you don't practice consistent care. So what has happened one too many times for this one is that I allowed it to dry out far too long until it wilted. Then I watered it, and it always sprang back until this most recent time. Now, that means there's probably some root rot going on in there, and that it's just not happy in any way. So that means I'm going to restart this crown. But I wanted you to kind of also see the other effects of neglect on this plant, because they are very, very clear. So the first thing, of course, as always, I'm going to disbud. And that's going to give us a pretty clear look. We've talked in the past about culture breaks. Now, do you see we have kind of normal size, maybe a little small leaves out here along the outer edge. Plus you can see the symmetry is kind of crazy. But then do you see we get right in here, and all of a sudden these leaves are very small. So there's a very clear culture break between this row and this row. So I'm going to take off the leaves up to the culture break, and now we'll look at it a little more closely. See, we also have kind of a wonky leaf here, kind of a funky little shape there. And I think if you look carefully, you can see very clearly that where the culture break is, really, these are the healthiest leaves. So we're gonna go back down to that. And we're almost there. Pretty close. Okay, and I'm holding these up a little bit because again these leaves are smaller and they will eventually go, but for now I'm going to leave them in place. So now we're down to a much smaller crown. And now if we look at this, now it looks like a palm tree. This is a neck that is a little too long to just pot back down in the pot, because once I take it out of here, you can see along the top that there were, as I take that top row of soil off, now we've got an even longer neck, all right? And if we were to take this all the way down, take off this, we would want to be taking off about 1.5 inches, and that's really about all we have left here. So potting this one down, back down into the same pot, is not going to be a good plan. So I will cut it. All right, there we go. Thud, did you hear that? Hit the deck there. All right, so here's our stem, and as we look, it looks okay inside, but you can see that it's a little bit dark here. So I'm gonna scrape it. I'm also scraping. Can you see here that it looks kind of brown, kind of tannish? Here are the spots where I just took the leaves off, and here is scabbed over old spots where leaves were in the past. And now I'm just using my thumbnail, which is kind of grubby looking because I've been working with the plants here, to just gently remove that scabbed over like material. I know you've seen this before. I think this one never hurts to see it again. Okay, this is looking pretty good. And now I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife, come over here to the edge, and I'm going to make one more strong cut. And I like the look of this better inside. And now I will restart the crown. So pretty wild, huh? I mean, I'm sure, you know, I often see questions on Facebook in the groups that I frequent there about, oh, I've got this leaf and it just kind of got limp and glassy looking and kind of transparent. That's generally speaking, in my experience, that comes from when you've let a plant get so dry, it goes like that, and then you water it and it perks back up. And you know, if you do that maybe once, it's usually not such a big deal. But when you do it multiple times over a period of time, then things can get a little dicey. So I really wanted to show that to you, and I hope that it's helpful as you guys are growing, things to look out for. Get your plants on a regular schedule of watering. If you find that that's really difficult for you, you might consider putting them on reservoirs. Many people community water their plants. I choose not to do that, as I think you know, but many people do it and do it very successfully, and that I think that saves a lot of time. That often the people who are doing that have a lot of plants. So, But speaking of having a lot of plants, Janice left a great comment on the website. I'm going to share it with you because, first of all, she's talking at first about Optimaras. And, you know, we've been kind of talking about this. I've mentioned it and asked you guys, and I'm getting some comments and finding that this is happening to a number of us, that our Optimaras seem to be getting smaller. And Janice said, I am very interested on how your and your viewers' Optimara violets grow best, fluorescent light or window light. As a natural light grower, I would like to build my collection with varieties that would do well and like these conditions. Being fairly far north, we get very dark days in November and December. The violets don't bloom but start up again in the spring. The other side of this is finding out which violets like lots of light so that I can avoid these varieties because they probably wouldn't be too happy. Janice, this is a great comment and question. So far, I'm looking over at it. Cajun's Cherished Hope, one of the things that Belinda shared with me when I was at National, she's the hybridizer of the Cajun series, is that she said they don't always like a lot of light, which seems to me that natural light would be ideal. So you might want to look into some of her plants. And I haven't been able to start the experiment that we talked about last week yet, of potting up one of the Optimaras that I have and putting it in the window rather than under the light. So I guess we'll see. And unfortunately, that's it's a trial and error of what grows well in your conditions. If anybody watching knows of specific plants that grow well in natural light, or other plants that you find really need a lot of light, love to have you leave a comment there so that Janice might see that and begin to have a basis for her own collection. But it is very much, I have found it over time to be very much trial and error. Plants that did well for me in California don't necessarily do as well for me here. Some plants that I think should do well here don't really do that well. It's very, very individual, very much about your specific growing conditions. So, and about consistent care, because we've been talking about that. And then Janice goes on to say, loved your look at the stands this week, but would like to know what you chose to let go and why. Weren't there a few more gone besides the ones you showed us that you were taking to donate when you spoke the same time that you groomed the trailers? Well, Janice, yes, Janice is the eagle-eye viewer. And I mentioned this, you guys, we're headed toward the look at what's on the stands. And I mentioned some of these plants in that. But I actually went back because I had pulled a list in mid-July of all of my plants. And since that time, I have divested quite a few. And the main reason for most of them, guys, is space. I ended up getting more from Libby than I should have, and then she sent me a couple bonus plants, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to grow them all? So I had to make some choices there. I've also made some choices with leaves that I got at National, some from my friend Carol Lee, some from other people, because I have these space constraints. Now, I have a little bit of space on the sunroom stand. You'll see that shortly. But I'm about to move some things around. But I did make a list because I recall that someone else asked me about this and said, I'd really like to know why something goes. Why do you let it go? So the first one I let go of Bertha, which was one I got from Libby, and I had wanted to grow it. It's one of Bill Foster's very well-known hybrids, and I've never grown it, but it is a large standard. And at the moment, a large standard is not going to be a good idea for me to be trying to grow. Cajun's Hug Me Honey, it looked very similar to another Cajun or another plant that I have that's variegated with a bluish purple blossom. And so I decided that I would let that one go. Edie's Rosebud Trail. Edie's Rosebud Trail is not registered. And it's a trailer. Trailers take up space. And so I let that one go mainly because it wasn't registered. Same thing with Lamb's Ears. And Lamb's Ears is a standard trailer, even bigger. Kathy Denise, I was going to give that one a go because it is a Missouri Valley plant, and it would be the only Nadeau plant, Ron Nadeau, that I've never grown his plants before. But again, space constraint. Eli Panochka, this is a Russian variety that I let go because it was not registered. I had wanted to, and you'll hear me say this as well at the Look at What's on the Stands, I really had hoped to give it a go to try to enter, to see if I can grow a collection of Russian varieties for next year at National. But in order to enter them in that collection class, they all have to be registered varieties. And when I was at National, I originally, all the Russian varieties were registered, and I wasn't really paying attention. So I picked up, quite a few, thinking, well, I'll see how these do, and some of these will, from this group, I should be able to get 3. Well, I didn't realize that, in more recently, a lot of plants, Russian plants that are here, have not been registered. And I don't know if they're going to be registered. They might be, and then I'll probably be sorry that I let some of them go. But I decided to let a bunch of them go, some of them for symmetry issues, but more so because they weren't registered. And Ali Panochka falls into that category, and R.S. Viscount also falls into that category. Mindy Moran, I actually thought I was buying Mindy Brook. And I know it said Mindy Moran, but I was thinking that Mindy Moran was Mindy Brook. And it had that Mindy Brook had significance for me. My late friend, Dorothy Gazowski, always grew Mindy Brook and loved it. And I grew it in California and loved it. And was thinking, oh, Mindy Moran, that it was that, when it wasn't. So again, large standard, decided to let it go. Optimara My Sensation, you're going to see this and see very clearly in the Look at What's on the Stands why I'm letting this one go. Orchid Trail was the one that I took and donated to the group that I spoke to, the Windy City Gardeners. And Rob Scalawinku, a trailer, I believe I let it go because I'm not always fond of fantasy blossoms. There are a few that I do like. I like Paulus plants, Paulus PB&J, and I believe Paulus Fidgety Frankie, I think, is a fantasy as well. And I like them very much. But another trailer takes up space, and it's a trailer that's a fantasy that isn't one of my favorites. So I let it go. And the last one was Vampire's Kiss. This was a hard one to let go because it's one that I did just get. I have tried to grow this plant. I can't even tell you how many times I've tried to grow it. And I have never been successful in growing it well. Not in California and not here. And I decided that it would be easier for me at this point to not be dealing with a prima donna in my conditions. Don't like my growing conditions, so I let it go. Maybe I will come back to it. It is a very interesting plant and a very beautiful blossom. But for now, those are the reasons why I let those go. So I just had to look at my notes. Sorry, because I'm really tired. I'm kind of, and you know what? I forgot to shut this off. Hang on. There, that's that buzzing noise. That's the light. I'm so sorry. I should have done that 15 minutes ago. But anyway, now we're going to look at what's on the stands. We're going to take a look at what's on the stands. And I just looked at my notes, and my notes were backwards. Oh my goodness, this is a crazy day. Well, some episodes are better than others. So go take a look at what's on the stands, and I'll be right back. Well, we are here in the guest room, and one of you sharp-eyed folks noticed that there were some things gone, and I know that I promised, or I said I would try, to alert you when I was going to let something go. I just adjusted those blossoms on Superman there. And we're just going to go right down here to the floor. These two Russian varieties are leaving. They were not on the shelf last week. They're sitting down here. This one is Morozhnya Vishnya, and this one is RS Viscount. Guys, the reason these are going is that there are massive space constraints here, as you know, and they are not registered. And I was hoping to maybe, enter a Russian collection at National next year if I can go. And the plants have to be registered. So I made some, decisions that I had to let some things go. Now, also over here, which, oh my gosh, finally, Fidgety Frankie is sprouting. Yay! I think pretty much everything that I brought home from National, let me walk around here, is now on its way here. This is a leaf of Sapphire Halo that I just put down recently, and this one is a leaf to Ode to Beauty, so it's not surprising that they're not going. But finally here, this one is going. This is Jersey Rose Trail. And this one, nothing happening. This was Jersey Little Devil, and it doesn't seem real stable in here. I think that one's gonna go. But everything, and this is the crown from the plant that's downtown in my office. This is Champagne Pink, and it's rooted well. In fact, I don't know if you can see that there's lots of little roots sticking out in the air. And this is a crown off of Rolling Pink Cloudburst. So things are growing here. Everything is doing. Here's Jersey Sugar Plums. All of these standards here are finally doing their thing. It's so exciting. But one that is missing from here is Edie's Rosebud Trail. Again, I had to make a decision, and a trailer takes up space, guys, and I was like, nah. And it's not registered. So let me move back around to the front here. But here are the fruits of my potting labors. I have 4 species plants, guys. This is Rupicola. This is Orbicularis verpurpurea. This is Orbicularis. And this is Confusa 2004 790. So I'm hoping that between the 4 of those, I might have a species collection. And my friend Tammy said, you didn't say what show you're getting ready for. Like, oh, I thought I did. I am hoping to go to the Missouri Valley show over the holiday Halloween weekend. I don't know for sure yet if I can go. Here I'm standing here talking to you. Here's Jersey Snowflakes trying to bloom. Whoop, there we go. But that's my hope. And then I have 4 semis. Same thing. Of these 4, I'm hoping to get at least 3 to have a semi collection. This one is Jersey Jazz. This one is I know this one is Jolly Jan. This is Watermelon Bay, and this one is Jersey Lilacs. So those are my possibles, and I did repot Jersey Snowflakes, as you know, and so it's just kind of still hanging out where it was. I'm probably going to move it off of this shelf because the light is going to begin to increase on these plants, and I don't think Jersey Snowflakes will be ready to go to show. I had to remove a center leaf because it was rusty on the edges, so that's because I didn't get it repotted in a timely manner. So everything down here, nothing too exciting, just regular stuff. Same down here, but you can see that things just continue to grow. That's the thing. And when you don't have enough space, then you have an issue. So that's part of what I've been doing, getting rid of stuff, letting things go. Let's go down to the basement. Okay, we're down in the basement. Nothing going on with Angela. Nothing going on with Texas Hot Chili. And more blooms on DS Black Magic. It is really beautiful. Second shelf is, bad. Here is Heartland's White Gold. And you can see it had a lot of blossoms and they are need to be cut off. And here is Teneri's Royal Blue Trailer. And I think you can see that there are 3 distinct crowns. But I don't know, maybe that's all I'm ever going to get, and maybe I should just be happy with those. I'm wondering about continued shelf space for this one. And this is Swamp Trail, just hanging out. I still need to repot it. Let's go upstairs. Okay, we are up in the sunroom, and you will notice that this shelf has some space. This is where some of the species plants were, but this is Edge of Darkness. This is Roulette. This is Cajun's Code Blue. This is Fisherman's Paradise. And that is E.K. Percasnia Creoca. Second shelf, there's Linda Darnell. Jersey Blue Dreams. Smooch Me. Pow Wow. Kansas City Barbecue. And now I want to show you the next plant that I'm going to let go. This is Optimara My Sensation. This is the new one that everyone is so keen on. But I think if you look closely at the symmetry, you're going to see why I'm not going to continue with it. It just is really unhappy here. So here is Petrocosmia carrii, perking up, looking pretty good. And there's Rambling Right Along. You see these outer leaves? They have some brown on them. I thought initially that might be the way that it was variegating, that the variegation was a tan color. But the new leaves, as you can see, are heavily variegated pink and cream, so I think not. So I think I have some grooming to do. And here is Cajun's McKenna Trail. And here is Columnia Firebird. And here we are over in the window with Cajun's Cherished Hope. And I think it needs a drink. He's feeling a little limp, but it is blooming and it seems to be pretty happy still here in this window. All right, that's the look at what's on the stands. I'll be right back. Okay, hopefully I'm calmed myself back down now. Interesting look, and I think it's very clear this week that the younger plants are growing and they are getting bigger and they are taking up more and more space in that isolation place in the guest room. And normally I really like to wait longer than the 12 weeks that they recommend. I usually try to wait at least 16 weeks. I know people who wait a year before they introduce anything else into the rest of their collection. But I am going to have to move some things around in there and just to get enough space to be able to keep that second shelf as the show shelf, the things that are going to try to grow for Missouri Valley. I'm not sure yet that I'm going to be able to go to Missouri Valley. I thought I was sure, and now I'm not so sure. But I am going to plan for it anyway. So we're going to stay on this pre-show schedule and see how it goes. And so speaking of the pre-show schedule, it's time to get the bail money ready. And we are on week 11 of the pre-show schedule. And there's nothing written in Pauline's schedule for week 11. So what that means is that we just let them grow for this week. We don't change anything, don't adjust the light, nothing. So they got potted up, on 12 weeks out, and now they're kind of resting and growing, and they're looking pretty good. The semis that I did, the 4 semis, I put them in a semi-sized pot, and it seems a little big for some of them. They were smaller to begin with. Some of the jerseys were younger plants. The Jolly Jan is, I've had it for a while, so that one I think is going to do pretty well and grow into that pot well. But I did put the other 3, Watermelon Bay should be fine because it was a pretty good size, and I groomed it back down pretty substantially. But the 2 jerseys that I have, they're Jersey Jazz and I forget. I'm not in front of it now, so I can't think of the name of it. But we'll see. And out of the 4 of those, hopefully I will get 3 that I feel like I could take as a collection. It's the same thing that I'm doing with the species, and we'll see how they do. So cross your fingers. That's what I'm doing. Well, guys, it's and there are no events coming up until September, but there will be some soon here because it's the middle of July. The middle of August. I can't really believe that, and yet there it is. The summer is fleeting. It's almost over. So, and boy, it sure seems that it's going quickly here in the Chicagoland area because it didn't even get warm until mid-July. So we've only had a few weeks of summer. But anyway, thank you for joining me today. Forgive all my discombobulation. Like I said, it was kind of a wild and busy day for me. So, and I'm tired now. I think I'm going to have to go to bed early. But thank you again for joining me. And thank you for sharing the podcast with your friends, and for coming back every week. I so appreciate you. And I hope that your days this week will be filled with all the things you love. Good growing. I'll see you next time.